Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Princess Rosalina granted Deku a Luma that granted him star abilities, made One for All stronger, and helped him get better control of it during his time at UA High. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The world was cruel. That was the first lesson Izuku Midoriya had ever learned. It wasn't written on a chalkboard or taught in a textbook. It was etched into the doctor's pitying frown, burned into the explosive heat of his childhood friend's palms, and whispered in the silence of his own home. Men are not born equal. That was the reality. Some were born to fly, to breathe fire, to lift mountains. And some, like Izuku, were born to watch. The midday sun beat down on Mizutsufu, baking the asphalt as Izuku walked home, his head bowed low. The weight of his yellow backpack felt heavier than usual, perhaps because inside it lay the charred remains of his hero analysis for the future number 13. Katsuki Bakugo had been particularly vicious today. The smell of burnt paper and nitroglycerin still clung to Izuku's uniform. If you want to be a hero that badly, there's a quick way to do it. Believe that you'll be born with a quirk in the next life, and take a last chance dive off the roof. Izuku gripped the strap of his bag until his knuckles turned white. He shouldn't let it get to him. Kaken was just Kaken. He was strong. He was going to be a top hero. Heroes had to be confident, right? But as he passed under the shadow of the Tatooine underpass, confidence felt like a concept from a different galaxy. He was 14 years old, quirkless, and completely alone. Don't worry about it, he muttered to himself, forcing a hollow laugh. Just ignore him. I have to keep looking forward. I just need to. Squelch. The sound came from the sewer grate behind him. A heavy, wet noise like mud sliding down a wall. Izuku froze. A chill that had nothing to do with the temperature crawled up his spine. He turned slowly. Rising from the grate was a towering mass of sentient sludge. It was a chaotic swirl of dark greens and browns, two manic eyes floating in the viscosity. It reeked of sewage and rot, a medium-sized invisibility cloak. The villain hissed, his voice bubbling like boiling tar. Perfect. Izuku's legs locked. His extensive notes on villains, his years of analyzing combat situations, all of it vanished. Panic, cold and primal, took over. He tried to run, but the sludge was faster. It lunged. Impact. The liquid forced its way into his mouth, his nose. It was suffocating. It tasted like oil and decay. Izuku clawed at the fluid, but his fingers just passed through it. Don't struggle, kid, the villain whispered right into his ear, the voice vibrating through the fluid filling his canals. It'll only hurt for a minute. Thanks for the help. You're a real lifesaver. I'm dying. The thought was surprisingly clear. The edges of his vision began to blur. Black spots danced in his eyes. He tried to scream for help, but only bubbles escaped. Is this it? I never even got to try. I never got to save anyone. I'm just vanishing. His strength faded. His arms went limp. The darkness of the tunnel seemed to close in, swallowing him whole. Clang! The manhole cover flew into the ceiling with the force of a cannonball. I am here! A voice like a thunderclap. A silhouette defined by sheer power. Through the murky slime covering his eyes, Izuku saw him. All Might. The symbol of peace. He was blurry, distorted by the fluid, but the smile, that indomitable smile, cut through the fear. Texas. Smash! The wind pressure alone was enough to shatter windows. The sludge villain didn't stand a chance. The force of the punch liquefied the villain's hold, blowing the slime apart like water hitting a fan. Izuku was thrown back, gasping, coughing up fluid, oxygen flooding his burning lungs. He looked up, dazed, as the golden figure stood triumphant. He was safe. He was alive. But as Izuku would soon learn, being saved was only the beginning of his despair. The rooftop scene was a blur of frantic energy that crashed into a wall of silence. Izuku had clung to All Might's leg, flown through the air, and landed on a building. He had asked the question that had burned in his soul for 10 years. Can I become a hero, even without a quirk? And then, the smoke cleared. The invincible giant vanished. In his place stood a skeletal, gaunt man with sunken eyes. A man who looked like he was one bad cough away from death. All Might showed him the wound. The gruesome crater in his side where his respiratory system used to be. The price of peace. And then, he delivered the verdict. Pros are always risking their lives. So, I cannot simply say, you can become a hero even without power. The words hit harder than the sludge villain ever could. If you want to help others, you could become a police officer, All Might continued, turning toward the door to the stairwell. It's a fine profession. It's not flashy, but... He paused at the door, glancing back at the boy who stood frozen, trembling. It's not bad to dream. But you also have to consider the reality, young man. The door clicked shut. Izuku was left alone on the roof. The wind picked up, rustling his unruly green hair. He stared at his red sneakers. Reality. That was the word. Reality was the doctor's office. Reality was the burned notebook. Reality was this empty rooftop. He didn't cry. Not yet. He felt too hollow to cry. It felt as though someone had reached inside his chest and scooped out the engine that kept him moving. The symbol of peace, the man who smiled at danger, had looked him in the eye and confirmed his worst fear. Give up. Izuku walked down the stairs like a ghost. He wandered through the streets of Muzudafa without a destination. He didn't want to go home. He couldn't face his mother's worried eyes, her unspoken apology that she had birthed him wrong. He found himself at a small, neglected park near the riverbank. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and burnt orange. It was the magic hour, the time between day and night when the world held its breath. Izuku sat on a rusted bench, placing his yellow backpack next to him. He pulled out the notebook, number 13. The cover was scorched black, but the pages were still legible. He flipped to the page he had started that morning. A sketch of Mount Lady. Notes on Kamui Woods. Hero analysis, he whispered, his voice cracking. He closed the book. What's the point? He looked up at the sky. The first stars were beginning to pierce the twilight. Venus was bright and steady. Above it, faint constellations began to emerge as the city lights flickered on. He remembered a story his father had told him once, long before he had left for work overseas. A story about wishing upon stars. It was a childish thing. A fairy tale. But Izuku Midoriya was desperate. He was a boy stripped of hope, sitting on the edge of his own story, realizing the pages were blank. He clasped his hands together, squeezing them until they hurt. He looked at the brightest star he could find, high in the zenith. I don't want to be famous, Izuku whispered to the empty air. I don't need money. I don't need a statue. Tears finally began to spill, hot tracks running down his freckled cheeks. I just want to save people. I want to be the one who says it's okay when everyone is scared. I want to be strong enough to protect them. He hiccuped, a pathetic sound in the quiet park. Please, if anyone is listening. I just want to be a hero. For a moment, there was only the sound of distant traffic and the wind in the trees. Then, the wind stopped. Not slowed down. Stopped. The distant hum of cars ceased. A bird that had been flying overhead froze in midair, suspended like a decoration on a wire. The rustling leaves became statues of green. Izuku blinked, wiping his eyes. Huh! The light changed. The orange hues of sunset were washed away by a gentle, encompassing blue. It was a cool, soothing light, like the glow of deep water or the depths of space. Do not weep, little one. The voice did not come from behind him. It came from everywhere. It resonated in his chest, a sound like a choir of bells, ancient and motherly. Izuku scrambled off the bench, looking around frantically. Who's there? Is this a villain? Look up. Izuku looked. The sky was no longer the sky over Japan. The atmosphere seemed to have peeled away, revealing a breathtaking expanse of the cosmos. But it wasn't just space. It was a tapestry of auroras, comets, and nebulae swirling in impossible proximity. And descending from the zenith, floating upon a platform that looked like a piece of an ornate observatory, was a woman. She was tall, glowing with an ethereal luminescence. She wore a gown of turquoise that seemed to ripple like the event horizon of a star. A silver crown sat upon her platinum blonde hair, which defied gravity to cover one eye. In her hand she held a wand tipped with a star. She floated down until she was hovering just a few feet above the grass. The sheer presence of her felt heavy, like standing next to a reactor, yet it wasn't frightening. It was peaceful. What? Izuku stammered, backing up until his legs hit the bench. Who are you a pro hero? The woman smiled. It was a sad, knowing smile. I am a watcher of the stars. My name is Rosalina. Izuku's analyst brain tried to kick in. Rosalina? I've never heard of a hero with that name. Is she a space-themed hero like 13? No, her presence, the way time stopped. This is a quirk on a planetary scale. Or maybe I'm hallucinating from oxygen deprivation earlier? You have a loud mind, Rosalina said gently, drifting closer. She lowered her feet, touching the grass, but the blades didn't bend beneath her weight. I heard your wish. It echoed quite loudly across the galaxies. It is rare to hear a wish so devoid of selfishness. Izuku swallowed hard. I just asked to be a hero. But All Might said it's impossible. I'm quirkless. I have no power. Power comes in many forms, Rosalina said. She raised her hand, and the air around them shimmered. I have watched your world for a long time. I have seen how you define worth by biology. It is limiting. She looked deep into Izuku's eyes. He felt as though she was reading his entire history, every bruise, every insult, every moment he stood up to protect another kid only to get beaten down. You have the heart of a guardian, she declared. But a guardian needs a shield. And a sword. I can't change my DNA, Izuku whispered, looking down. I'm just Deku. You cannot change what you are, Rosalina agreed. But you can accept a gift. Not a biological power, but a companion. A burden, and a blessing. She flicked her wand gently. From behind the folds of her dress something peeked out. It was a blob, but not like the sludge villain. This was a teardrop-shaped creature, glowing a warm, soft yellow. It had tiny, nubby arms and two black, bead-like eyes that blinked with infinite curiosity. It floated through the air with a faint chiming sound. Teeling! This is Tico, Rosalina said. The creature Tico zoomed forward, circling Izuku's head. It let out a happy squeak. A pet? Izuku asked, bewildered. A Luma, Rosalina corrected. A child of the stars. He is young like you. And like you, he wishes to see the universe and protect the light. Tico stopped in front of Izuku's face. The little star child tilted its head, then leaned forward and nuzzled Izuku's cheek. It felt warm, like a mug of hot cocoa on a winter day. A strange surge of energy pulsed through Izuku, not electric, but kinetic. He felt lighter. Tico has chosen you, Rosalina said, her voice serious now. He can grant you the power of the stars. He can manipulate gravity, travel through the void, and turn your spirit into force. But be warned, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku looked from the floating star to the cosmic woman. Warned? His power is not yours. It is shared. You must protect him as he protects you. If you accept him, you will never be normal again. You will carry the weight of the cosmos on your shoulders. Izuku looked at Tico. The Luma looked back, fearless and trusting. For the first time all day, for the first time in years, Izuku didn't feel the crushing weight of expectation. He felt a spark. Will it let me save people? Izuku asked. Yes. Izuku clenched his fists. He wiped the tears from his face. Then I'll do it. I'll take care of him. Rosalina smiled, and this time, it was radiant. Then, may the stars shine down on you. She raised her wand. A flash of blinding white light consumed the park. Tico, she whispered as she faded. Guide him. Flash. The world snapped back. The traffic noise returned instantly, a roar of engines. The bird in the sky flapped its wings and flew on. The blue tint vanished, replaced by the dying orange of the sunset. Izuku stood alone by the bench. Was it a dream? He mumbled, looking around. The observatory was gone. The woman was gone. He felt a movement in his backpack. He froze. Slowly, trembling, he unzipped the main compartment. Two black eyes peered up from amidst his school books. Tico held a piece of a granola bar wrapper in his tiny hands, looking guilty. Pew! The Luma squeaked. It It's real, Izuku breathed. He touched the Luma's head. It was solid. Warm. You're real. Boom! A massive explosion shook the ground beneath Izuku's feet. A plume of black smoke rose into the air a few blocks away, from the shopping district. Izuku's instincts kicked in before his brain did. He grabbed his bag, zipped it up, leaving a small gap for Tiko, and ran. Hold on, Tiko. Wah! Came the muffled reply from the bag. The scene at the Tatooine shopping district was a nightmare. Flames roared 3 stories high. Cars were overturned. The crowd was held back by police tape, a sea of terrified faces lit by the inferno. Izuku pushed his way to the front, gasping for breath. What's happening? Why aren't the heroes doing anything? He scanned the scene. Death Arms, Kamui Woods, Empty Lady, they were all there. But they were standing back. I can't get close. Death Arms yelled, shielding his face from the heat. The villain keeps setting off explosions. My quirk isn't suited for this tight space. Empty Lady cried. Izuku looked at the center of the flames. His blood ran cold. It was the sludge villain. All Might had dropped him. He must have escaped when All Might jumped. It's my fault, Izuku thought, horror dawning on him. I grabbed All Might's leg. I made him drop the bottle. This is my fault. Where is All Might? Someone in the crowd shouted. He's been chasing this guy all day. He must be out of time. The villain roared, his liquid body expanding. And there, trapped in the center of the muck, suffocating and thrashing, was a hostage. Ash-blonde hair. Fierce red eyes now filled with terror. Kaken. The villain was trying to take over Bakugo's body, using his explosive quirk to keep the heroes at bay. Bakugo was fighting, but he was losing. He couldn't breathe. The pro-heroes were paralyzed. They were waiting for someone with the right quirk. They were waiting for someone else to solve the problem. Izuku stared at Bakugo. Their eyes met. In that moment, Bakugo wasn't the bully. He was just a kid who was about to die. Izuku's legs moved on their own. Hey! Stop! That kid is gonna die! Death Arms shouted. Izuku ducked under the police tape. He sprinted toward the inferno. Why am I running? His mind screamed. I don't have a quirk. I can't do anything, but his feet didn't stop. He needed to reach him. The sludge villain saw him coming. You again? The invisible kid! I'll crush you this time. The villain raised a massive tendril of sludge to smash Izuku flat. Izuku flinched, bracing for impact. Zip! The zipper on his yellow backpack flew open. Tiko shot out like a golden bullet. Pew pew! The Luma spun. It wasn't just a twirl. Tiko spun with the velocity of a centrifuge. A ring of blue cosmic energy flared outward from his small body. Vroom! The sound was unique, a sharp, resonant hum that cut through the roar of the fire. The shockwave from the star spin hit the descending sludge tentacle. The liquid didn't just stop, it was repelled violently, splashing backward as if it had hit a solid wall of force. Izuku skidded to a halt, eyes wide. Tiko hovered in front of him, glowing brightly, spinning lazily now. Tiko? The villain recoiled, confused. What is that thing? A support item? Bakugo gasped for air, his mouth momentarily free. Deku? Kaken! Izuku yelled. He looked at the villain, then at Tiko. He remembered Rosalina's words. He can turn your spirit into force. Tiko! Help me save him! The Luma chirped aggressively. He floated back to Izuku, hovering just behind his right shoulder. Izuku felt that strange weightlessness again. The gravity around him shifted. He felt, anchored yet light, die. The villain launched 3 more tendrils, aiming to skewer the boy. Star spin! Izuku shouted, acting on instinct. He threw his body into a spin, mimicking the Luma. Tiko synchronized with him, orbiting Izuku's body. Blue light erupted around Izuku. Vroom! The sludge tendrils were blown away by the centrifugal force. The fire surrounding them was pushed back, creating a safe circle of clear air in the middle of the inferno. The crowd gasped. The heroes watched in stunned silence. What is that? Kamui Woods whispered. A wind quirk? Gravity? Izuku stopped spinning, dizzy but standing. He was close enough now. He could see the villain's eyes. Get off him! Izuku screamed. He clawed at the sludge. It was still thick, still hard to pull apart. Tiko saw Izuku struggling. The Luma puffed up his cheeks. Two. Tiko spat out 3 glowing, colorful jagged rocks. Star bits. They shot forward like bullets. Crack! 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 They struck the villain directly in his giant, floating eyes. Arg! The villain shrieked, the pain causing his liquid form to spasm. His grip on Bakugo loosened significantly. Now! Izuku yelled. He grabbed Bakugo's collar with both hands. What the hell are you doing here, Deku? Bakugo coughed, tears in his eyes. My legs moved on their own. Izuku cried, tears streaming down his own face. You looked like you were asking for help. For a second, time seemed to slow. Izuku pulled. Tiko floated behind Izuku, glowing brighter, adding his gravitational pull to Izuku's strength. The sludge gave way, but the villain recovered. He was blind in one eye, furious and huge. He rose up, a towering wave of mud and hatred. I'll kill you both. The shadow fell over them. Izuku shielded Bakugo. Tiko flew in front, expanding his small body to try and block the blow, but he was too small to stop a mountain of sludge. I can't stop this, Izuku thought. But I bought time. Blood sprayed, not Izuku's. A massive hand had grabbed the villain's attack. Steam poured off a muscular arm. I really am pathetic, a deep voice rumbled. Izuku looked up. All Might stood there. He wasn't the skeletal man anymore. He had forced his muscle form, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. I told you the traits of a great hero, but I didn't live up to them myself. All Might shouted. Pros are always risking their lives, the villain shrieked. All Might pulled back his fist. Tiko, sensing the immense pressure building up, zipped quickly into Izuku's hood to hide. Detroit. Smash! The punch changed the weather. An updraft of hurricane force blasted through the shopping district. The sludge villain was atomized, scattered across the city blocks in harmless droplets. The fire was snuffed out instantly by the displacement of air. Clouds gathered and darkened above them violently. Silence reigned. Then, rain began to fall. He changed the weather with a single punch, a civilian whispered. Amazing! All Might! The crowd erupted. Izuku sat on the wet pavement, gasping for air. Bakugo lay beside him, coughing. Tiko peeked out of Izuku's hood, shaking himself dry like a dog. Wah! Izuku reached up and gently pushed the Luma back down. Stay hidden, Tiko, he whispered. Please. The aftermath was a mix of praise and scolding. The heroes scolded Izuku for his recklessness. You have a death wish, kid? You're quirkless. You could have gotten killed and gotten the hostage killed. Death Arms yelled, pointing a finger at Izuku's chest. Izuku just bowed, accepting the lecture. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the heroes praised Bakugo for his bravery and his powerful quirk. But there was a weird tension. Kamui Woods kept looking at Izuku. Kid, the wood hero said, crouching down. That blue light, and those projectiles. I thought the file said you were quirkless? Izuku froze. It was a support item. Izuku blurted out. Prototype. My dad sent it from overseas. It broke. One-time use. Tiko stayed perfectly still in the backpack, sensing the boy's anxiety. The heroes looked skeptical, but with the villain defeated and All Might swarmed by the press, they let it slide. They had paperwork to do. As the sun fully set, Izuku began the long walk home. He felt exhausted. His bones ached, and his adrenaline was crashing hard. Deku! Izuku turned. Bakugo was running after him. Bakugo stopped a few yards away, panting. He looked furious, but also shaken. I didn't ask for your help. Bakugo yelled. And you didn't save me. I was fine. Don't look down on me. You got that, you damn nerd? He turned and stomped away. Izuku sighed. Well, that's normal. Tiko chirped, popping his head out. He looked at the retreating Bakugo and stuck out a tiny, yellow tongue. Izuku smiled weakly. Don't be rude, Tiko. He's complicated. Tiko floated up and sat on Izuku's shoulder. The little star glowed softly, illuminating the dark street. You were amazing back there, Izuku whispered to the creature. Thank you? You saved us. Tiko rubbed his cheek against Izuku's ear. I am here. Izuku jumped, nearly dropping his bag. All Might slid out from an alleyway in a dramatic pose, then immediately exploded in a puff of smoke, reverting to his skeletal form. He coughed up a frightening amount of blood. All Might? Izuku panicked. Are you okay? I am fine, young man, All Might wheezed, wiping his mouth. I came to find you. He straightened up, looking at Izuku with intense blue eyes. I have a confession to make. I scolded you on the rooftop. I told you to give up. And yet, at the scene of the crime, none of the pro-heroes acted. Only you? Izuku looked down. I didn't think. My legs just moved. Exactly. All Might said. Top heroes have stories about their school days. Most of them have one thing in common. Their bodies moved before they could think. Izuku's eyes widened. Tears began to well up again. That happened to you today, didn't it? Yes, Izuku choked out. All Might took a step closer. Then he paused. He looked at Izuku's shoulder. And you had a little help, didn't you? Izuku froze. He looked at Tiko. Tiko looked at All Might. Pew! Tiko waved. All Might blinked. A creature? His name is Tiko, Izuku said, deciding not to lie to his idol. He fell from the stars. Just before the fire. I made a wish, and he appeared. All Might stared at the floating star. He had seen many quirks in his life. He had seen mutations, transformations, and emitters. But this creature felt different. Ancient. Pure. He remembered the blue light. The way the sludge had been repelled not by a punch, but by a force. You have a good heart, young Midoriya, All Might said softly. The universe seems to agree. All Might looked Izuku in the eye. You ran into danger to save a life, knowing you were weak. This creature, it lends you strength, but you were the one who moved. You possessed the qualities of a hero. Izuku fell to his knees, clutching his chest. The dam broke. He cried, burying his face in the pavement. All Might smiled. Young Midoriya, I have a proposal for you. But first, let me tell you this. The number one hero pointed at the crying boy. You can become a hero. Above them, the clouds parted. The moon shone down, bright and full. And next to the moon, if one looked very closely, a blue comet streaked across the sky, watching over its new child and his vessel. Wah! Tiko cheered, spinning happily in the moonlight. This was the beginning. The story of how Izuku Midoriya, the boy who looked at the stars, became the greatest hero in the universe. The morning sun filtered through the curtains of the Midoriya apartment, casting dust motes into a golden dance. Izuku Midoriya lay perfectly still in his bed, staring at the ceiling. His alarm clock was set to ring in 3 minutes, but he had been awake for an hour. He was afraid to move. He was afraid to turn his head. Was it a dream? The sludge villain? The fire? The swirling blue light? The woman from the stars? It felt too large, too fantastical for the life of Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless boy who blended into the background. It had to be a hallucination brought on by oxygen deprivation. That made sense. That was logical. Pew! The sound was soft, like a squeaky toy being pressed under a pillow. Izuku's breath hitched. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, he turned his head toward his pillow. There, nestled in the curve of his neck, sleeping soundly, was a teardrop of warm, yellow light. Tiko. The Luma was snoozing, a tiny bubble of snot inflating and popping with his rhythmic breathing. He radiated a gentle heat, like a sun-warmed stone. It's real, Izuku whispered, his voice trembling. The events of yesterday crashed back into his memory. The promise. You can become a hero. Izuku sat up, careful not to wake the cosmic creature. He looked at his hands. They were the same hands as yesterday, scarred from notebook scribbling, callous from anxiety-induced gripping, but they felt different. They had held power. They had pulled Kaken from death. He looked at the All Might poster on his wall. The hero smiled down at him. I have to get ready, Izuku said to the empty room. He's waiting. The meeting place was Dagoba Municipal Beach Park, or, as the locals called it, the garbage dump. For years, the ocean currents had deposited driftage here, and the locals had taken advantage of it to illegally dump their household waste. It was a graveyard of tires, broken appliances, and rotting furniture. It smelled of rust and salt and neglect. Izuku stood at the top of the concrete stairs leading down to the sand, wearing his pea tracksuit. Tiko was hidden inside the hood of his sweatshirt, a warm weight against the back of Izuku's neck. Hey! Hey! You're early! All Might jogged into view. He was in his skeletal form, wearing a baggy white t-shirt and cargo pants. He looked less like the #1 hero and more like a tourist who had lost his luggage. All Might! Izuku stood at attention, bowing deeply. Good morning, young Midoriya. All Might coughed, wiping blood from his chin. And good morning to your friend. Tiko poked his head out of the hood, blinking in the morning light. He saw All Might and let out a happy chirp, floating out to circle the hero's gaunt head. Fascinating, All Might muttered, watching the Luma defy physics. I did some research last night. I called up some friends in the support industry and astronomy. There is no record of a quirk manifesting as a sentient, separate biological entity that can manipulate gravity without touching the user. Rosalina, the lady who gave him to me, said he was from the stars, Izuku explained, feeling self-conscious. She said he's a Luma. Aliens, All Might mused, stroking his chin. In a world of quirks, I suppose extraterrestrial life isn't that far-fetched. Though, let's keep that between us for now. If the government finds out you're harboring a space alien, you'll spend your hero career in a lab, not on the streets. Izuku paled. Alright. Secret. Top secret. Now, All Might clapped his bony hands together. Down to business. You want to be a hero. And I have told you it is possible. But simply having this little star child isn't enough. All Might walked down the stairs, gesturing to the expanse of trash. My quirk, All Might began, his voice dropping an octave, becoming serious, is not something I was born with. It is a sacred torch passed down from generation to generation. Izuku's eyes widened. Passed down? But that's impossible. Quirks are genetic. Generally, yes. But mine is special. It is the crystallization of power. One person cultivates it, then passes it to another. It is called One for All. All Might explain the history. The brother of All for One. The stockpiling of power. The duty to fight evil. I have been looking for a successor, All Might said, looking at the sunrise reflecting off the trash heaps. And I thought I would have to look at you, But then I saw you. You who were powerless yet acted. You are worthy. He turned to Izuku. However, you are weak. Izuku flinched. Jiga, your spirit is ready, but your body is, well, look at you. All Might poked Izuku's arm. It was soft. You're a noodle. If I gave you my power now, your limbs would shoot off your body and you'd explode. Explode? Izuku shrieked. Tiko hid behind Izuku's ear, shaking. One for all is a lot of energy, All Might said. You need a vessel capable of holding it. And that brings us to this. He pointed at the beach. Your goal is to clear this entire section of the beach. Move the trash. Clean the sand. Restore the horizon. Izuku looked at the mountains of garbage. Broken trucks, massive wardrobes, piles of scrap metal. It looked impossible. I have 10 months until the UA entrance exam, Izuku calculated, muttering rapidly. The volume of trash is approximately, divided by my caloric intake, muscle recovery time. Stop mumbling. Start lifting. All Might shouted. Izuku nodded. He ran toward a large, rusted refrigerator lying on its side. He gripped the handle and pulled. He grunted. He strained. His shoes dug into the sand. It didn't budge. It's stuck, in the mud. Izuku groaned. Pew! Tiko zoomed forward. The Luma glowed blue. Suddenly, the refrigerator lifted into the air. It floated as if it were made of styrofoam. Whoa! Izuku gasped. Tiko! You did it! No! All Might chopped Izuku on the head. Not hard, but enough to startle him. Put it down! All Might commanded. Tiko looked confused but deactivated the gravity. The fridge crashed back into the sand. Thud. Young Midoriya, All Might said sternly. This training is to build your body. If the Luma lifts the weight, your muscles do nothing. You are the vessel. Tico is, let's call him the turbocharger. A car with a massive turbo engine but a chassis made of cardboard will tear itself apart at the starting line. Izuku rubbed his head, realization dawning on him. I was using him as a crutch. Exactly, All Might said. Until you are ready to receive one for all, Tico is forbidden from helping you lift. You must build the foundation with your own blood and sweat. Tico can cheer you on, but he cannot carry the load for you. Izuku looked at his hands again. He looked at Tico, who floated sadly, his glow dimming slightly. I'm sorry, Tico, Izuku whispered. He's right. If I'm not strong enough, I'll break. I have to do this myself. Tico floated closer and nuzzled Izuku's cheek. Pew. Okay, alright. Izuku shouted, slapping his cheeks. I'll do it. I'll clear this whole beach. And so, the hell began. The first month, the reality of gravity. The first week was agony. Izuku had never been athletic. He was a nerd who spent his time writing in notebooks. Suddenly, he was dragging tires through soft sand, hauling bags of scrap metal upstairs, and pushing broken appliances across uneven terrain. Every muscle fiber in his body screamed. He would come home shaking, too tired to even hold his chopsticks. But the hardest part wasn't the physical pain. It was the hunger. Not Izuku's hunger, though he was eating like a horse per All Might's American dream plan, but Tico's. It happened on a Tuesday night. Izuku was at his desk, trying to study for a math test, his arms wrapped in compression bandages. Tico was floating listlessly above the bed. Usually, Tico glowed a bright, sunny yellow. But tonight, he was a dull, mustard color. He moved sluggishly, like a balloon losing helium. Tico? Izuku asked, concerned. Are you okay? Tico whined. He drifted down and landed on the desk, not bouncing, just splatting slightly. Are you hungry? Izuku asked. He offered a piece of apple. Tico sniffed it and turned away. He offered a cracker. A piece of fish. A multivitamin. Tico rejected them all. Rosalina didn't tell me what you eat. Izuku panicked. Do you eat starlight? Do I need to put you on the roof? He opened the window and held Tico out. The city lights were bright, but the stars were hidden by smog. Tico shivered in the cold night air. No, that's not it. Izuku grabbed his notebook, a new one, Hero Analysis number 14, which he had dedicated entirely to Tico. Subject Tico. Species Luma. Dietary needs unknown. Condition, lethargic, loss of luminosity. Izuku bit his thumb. Think, Izuku. Think. In the stories, what do stars eat? Hydrogen? No, I can't get hydrogen. In the vision, Rosalina had a wand. Star bits? He remembered the fight with the sludge villain. Tico had spit out those colorful, rock candy-looking projectiles. Star bits. Wait. Izuku ran to the kitchen. His mother, Inko, was asleep. He quietly rummaged through the pantry. He found a jar of traditional Japanese candy he had bought for his mom's birthday but hadn't given her yet. Konpito. Small, star-shaped sugar candies. They looked exactly like the bits Tico had fired, just smaller. He ran back to the room. He unscrewed the jar. The sweet smell of sugar filled the air. Tico's eyes snapped open. Pew! The Luma shot up from the desk. He zoomed toward the jar, drooling. If stars could drool. You like this? Izuku asked, taking out a pink one. Tico opened his mouth wide. Izuku tossed it in. Crunch. Tico chewed happily. Immediately, his color brightened. A faint ripple of energy passed through the room, making Izuku's pencils float for a second. Pew! Pew! Tico demanded more. Izuku fed him a handful. Tico glowed brighter and brighter, until he was back to his usual radiant self. He burped, releasing a tiny puff of glitter. Sugar, Izuku wrote down furiously. He metabolizes sugar, specifically crystallized sugar. Resemblance to star bits seems psychological or chemical. Note, stock up on Konpito. This discovery changed their dynamic. Tico wasn't just a passive observer. He was a growing organism with needs. Izuku began carrying a pouch of Konpito on his belt at all times. It became their ritual. Before training, a snack. After training, a reward. The third month, the secret. Keeping Tiko a secret was becoming a tactical nightmare. Aldera Junior High was not a kind place for Izuku. Bakugo's bullying had lessened slightly, mostly because Bakugo seemed confused and wary of Izuku since the sludge incident. But the isolation remained. Izuku couldn't leave Tiko at home. Rosalina had said, "You must protect him as he protects you." They were linked. If they were separated by too much distance, Izuku felt a hollow ache in his chest, and Tiko would panic, teleporting to him, which caused a lot of noise. So, Tiko came to school. He spent the days sleeping in Izuku's yellow backpack, which Izuku kept under his desk. Midoriya, the math teacher, droned. "Please come to the board and solve equation 4. Izuku stood up. "Why, yes, sir." As he walked to the front, a soft snoring sound echoed from under his desk. Zzzzzzpew. Zzzzzzpew. The class went silent. "What is that noise?" the teacher asked. Izuku froze, chalk in hand. "I have allergies. It's my nose whistling." "Your nose whistles like a slide whistle?" A classmate laughed. "Yes. It's a rare condition," Izuku shouted, turning red. Bakugo stared at him from the back of the room, eyes narrowed. He knew that sound. He had heard it in the fire. Later, during lunch, Izuku hid behind the gymnasium to eat. He let Tiko out for some fresh air and Konpito. "You have to be quieter, buddy," Izuku whispered, stroking the Luma's smooth surface. Pio Tiko apologized, hugging Izuku's thumb. Deku. Izuku jumped, shoving Tiko behind his back. Bakugo stood at the corner of the building, hands in his pockets. He didn't have his usual exploding scowl. He looked inquisitive, which was somehow scarier. "Keikaken! Drop the act," Bakugo growled. "I know that thing is with you." "The floating rat." Izuku swallowed. "He's not a rat. He's a Luma." "I don't care what it is," Bakugo said, stepping closer. "I just want to know one thing. Is that your quirk? Did you lie to me for 10 years? "No." Izuku shook his head frantically. I really was quirkless. Tiko, he found me. That day. He's a friend." Bakugo stared at him for a long, uncomfortable minute. He looked at Izuku's terrified face, then at the yellow blob peeking out from behind Izuku's shoulder. "Tch." Bakugo kicked a pebble. "Whatever. You're still a pebble on the side of the road." "But..." He paused, looking away. "You didn't die in the fire. So don't die now." Bakugo walked away. Izuku blinked. Was that encouragement? Or a threat? With Kaken, it was hard to tell. "Pew?" Tiko asked. "Yeah," Izuku sighed, slumping against the wall. "I think we're safe. For now." The 6th month, the transformation. Summer hit hard. The beach was a sweltering oven. The smell of garbage fermented in the heat, becoming almost unbearable. But Izuku was changing. The noodle arms were gone. In their place were lean, corded muscles. His back was broader. His legs were sturdy. All Might's training regimen was brutal. It wasn't just lifting, it was functional strength. Balance. Core stability. "Move that truck tire!" All Might shouted, sitting atop a pile of fridges in his muscle form, for motivation. "You have 10 seconds, Izuku gritted his teeth. He dug his heels into the sand. He roared, flipping the massive tire. Flip. 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 Time. Izuku collapsed onto the sand, chest heaving. Sweat poured off him like rain. Tiko floated down, holding a water bottle with his telekinesis. He uncapped it and poured it into Izuku's mouth. "Thanks, Tiko," Izuku gasped. "You're making excellent progress." All Might boomed, giving a thumbs up. "But we are behind schedule. The offshore currents brought in a massive load of debris last week. At this rate, we won't finish by the exam." Izuku sat up, wiping his face. I can do more. I'll sleep less." "No!" All Might and Tiko said in unison. Tiko said pew, but the sentiment was clear. "Rest is part of training," All Might lectured. However, perhaps it is time to integrate the Luma. Izuku looked up. Really? You have built the engine, All Might said, poking Izuku's bicep. It was hard as rock. Now, we need to test the transmission. We need to see how your body handles the stress of Tiko's power while under physical load. The new training began. It was multidimensional. Izuku would lift a heavy object, say, a safe. Then, Tiko would manipulate gravity to make the safe fluctuate in weight. He would make it heavy, then light, then pull it to the left, then push it to the right. Izuku had to adjust instantly. He had to engage his core, shift his stance, and predict the gravitational shifts. Center of gravity. All Might yelled. Don't fight the star power. Flow with it. Anchor yourself. It's really hard. Izuku grunted, his legs trembling as Tiko made the safe weigh 3 times its normal mass. Pew pew! Tiko chirped, spinning around Izuku. This training sharpened Izuku's proprioception. He wasn't just getting strong, he was getting agile. He was learning to sense the shift in the air before Tiko even activated his power. He and the Luma were becoming a single unit of combat. The month of the exam, the successor, February arrived. The air was crisp and cold. Izuku stood at the edge of the Dagoba Municipal Beach Park. But it wasn't a dump anymore. It was a beach. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon, painting the ocean in shades of violet and gold. The white sand stretched out, pristine and clean. The mountains of trash were gone. Every last bottle cap, every last rusted bolt. At the top of the stairs, Izuku stood shirtless. He was screaming. Not in pain, but in triumph. He stood atop the final pile of trash, a pickup truck he had dragged to the loading zone. He raised his fists to the sky. I did it. Tiko zoomed around him, leaving a trail of sparkles, cheering wildly. All Might watched from the parking lot. He dropped his phone. He had arrived just in time to see the boy finish. Oh my goodness, All Might whispered. He didn't just clear the designated area. He cleared the whole coastline. He went beyond. All Might transformed into his muscle form. He walked down to the beach, his footsteps heavy. Izuku slid down from the truck, landing in front of his idol. He was panting, bruised, and dirty, but his eyes were burning with a fierce light. All Might! Izuku beamed. I finished. I'm ready. All Might looked at the boy. The transformation was incredible. The shy, fragile boy was gone. Standing there was a young warrior. You have done well, young Midoriya, All Might said, his voice thick with emotion. You have exceeded my expectations. You have built a vessel worthy of the power. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a single strand of golden hair. Now. The time has come. Izuku swallowed. Tiko landed on his shoulder, sensing the gravity of the moment. This is it? Izuku asked. Yes, All Might said. This hair contains my DNA. Once you ingest it, One for All will begin to merge with your body. It will cultivate within you. He held out the hair. Eat this. Izuku stared at the hair. What? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's DNA, All Might said cheerfully. Hair is the easiest. Don't chew, just swallow. Izuku took the hair. It was stiff. Well, Izuku laughed nervously. Bottoms up. He put the hair in his mouth and swallowed. He gagged slightly, but forced it down. For a moment, nothing happened. So, do I feel it now? Izuku asked. It takes a few hours to digest, All Might said. By the time the exam starts you should. Boom. Izuku's eyes rolled back in his head. A shockwave erupted from his chest. Young Midoriya? All Might grabbed him. Izuku convulsed. His veins bulged, glowing a chaotic red. AF! Izuku screamed. It felt like he had swallowed a live grenade. The power of One for All, 8 generations of stockpiled strength, was flooding his system all at once. It was looking for a container, but it was volatile. It was too much, too fast. His body is rejecting the sudden influx. All Might panicked. It's reacting to the Luma's energy, Tiko shrieked. He sensed the foreign power invading his partner. To Tiko, OFA felt like a storm. A massive, raging sun trying to burn Izuku from the inside out. Pew! Tiko didn't run. He dove. The Luma phased right into Izuku's chest. Flash. A blinding pillar of light shot up from the beach, piercing the clouds. Inside the light, silence reigned. The dreamscape. Izuku opened his eyes. He was floating. There was no beach. No All Might. No pain. He was in deep space. Below him lay a planet of swirling blues and greens. Around him, the galaxy stretched out in infinite majesty. Calm your heart. Izuku turned. Rosalina stood there, floating on her starship platform. She looked as serene as the day they met. Rosalina! Izuku drifted toward her. What happened? Am I dying? No, she said softly. You are inheriting a great power. A power of stockpiled will. It is heavy. Very heavy. She gestured to the space around Izuku. Wisps of red lightning crackled in the void. They were angry, jagged. This power, one for all, is like a raging star, Rosalina explained. Your body, though strong, is still mortal. If you try to hold the star in a jar, the jar will shatter. Then I can't use it? Izuku asked, despair filling him. Was all that training for nothing? You cannot hold it alone, Rosalina corrected. She pointed to Izuku's chest. There, glowing softly beneath his skin, was Tiko. Tiko is a child of the stars. His body is designed to process cosmic energy. He can act as your capacitor. Capacitor? He will absorb the overflow, Rosalina said, moving her hands to demonstrate. When you draw upon the power, Tiko will take the excess energy that would normally break your bones. He will convert that raw force into star power, gravity, flight, light. He will balance the equation. She drifted closer, placing a cool hand on Izuku's forehead. But listen closely, Izuku. This link makes you strong, but it also makes you vulnerable. If Tiko runs out of energy, the buffer is gone. If you overuse one for all without him, you will break. You must work in perfect harmony. You are a binary star system now. Two suns orbiting each other. The red lightning began to calm, turning a soft, cosmic pink. It swirled around Izuku, mixing with Tiko's yellow glow to create a brilliant aura. The exam awaits, Rosalina whispered, her image beginning to fade. Trust in your training. Trust in Tiko. And remember, you are the vessel. Wait. Izuku reached out. Will I see you again? Rosalina smiled. I am always watching. The universe dissolved into white. The awakening. Izuku gasped, sitting up violently. He was back on the beach. Young Midoriya. All Might was kneeling beside him, looking terrified. Are you alright? You were glowing. And then you stopped breathing for 10 seconds. Izuku looked at his hands. He felt incredible. It wasn't just the strength of his muscles. There was a hum beneath his skin. A thrumming vibration of limitless potential. He looked down at his chest. Tiko popped out of his shirt collar. The Luma looked different. He was slightly bigger, and the tip of his head curl had a faint reddish tint to it now, mixing with the yellow. Pew! Tiko gave a thumbs up with a tiny nub. I'm okay, Izuku said, standing up. He didn't just stand. He floated up to his feet with effortless grace. He squeezed his fist. The air pressure around his hand dipped. I feel it, Izuku whispered. One for all, and the stars. They're mixed together. All Might stared at him. The boy radiated a presence that made the hair on All Might's arms stand up. It wasn't the overwhelming pressure of All Might's own power, but something stranger. Something mystical. You really are a bag of surprises. All Might laughed, slapping Izuku's back, and nearly knocking him over, grounding him from his float. Look at the time. The exam starts in 40 minutes. You need to shower and get to UA. Izuku checked his watch. 40 minutes? I'm gonna be late. Go! All Might shouted. Go and show them that you are here. Izuku grabbed his backpack and yellow sneakers. Ready, Tiko? Pew! Izuku sprinted. He didn't just run. He bounded. Every step pushed him further than before. He felt lighter, faster. He reached the street. He looked toward UA High in the distance. I'm coming, he thought. All Might. Rosalina. Mom. Kaken. I'm going to be a hero. As he ran, he grabbed a handful of Compito from his pouch and tossed them into the air. Tiko zoomed out, caught them all in midair, and dove back into the bag, charged and ready. The vessel was ready. The stars were aligned. UA High, and the world of heroes, had no idea what was coming. The gates of UA High stood like the precipice of a new world. Massive, imposing, and gleaming in the morning sun, they represented the barrier between the mundane and the extraordinary. Izuku Midoriya stood before them, his yellow sneakers scuffing the pavement. He wore the standard black gakurin of Aldera Junior High, but beneath the fabric, his body was humming. It was a sensation he was still getting used to, a low-level vibration in his marrow, like a tuning fork that had been struck and left to resonate. Inside the chest pocket of his uniform, resting against his sternum, was Tico. The Luma was asleep, having gorged himself on a handful of Campedo sugar stars during the train ride over. The creature's warmth was grounding, a physical reminder that the last 10 months of hellish training weren't a hallucination. "I'm here," Izuku thought, his hands trembling slightly as he clenched them. "I actually made it." He took a step forward, and his mind immediately began to spiral. This is it. The culmination of everything. If I fail here, All Might's time is wasted. Rosalina's gift is wasted. The beach, the cleaning, eating the hair. Wait, did the hair digest properly? Does DNA transfer work that fast? All Might said a few hours, but what if my stomach acid is too strong? What if I poop out one for all? Out of my way, Deku. The voice was low, rough, and intimately terrifying. Izuku flinched, snapping out of his muttering trance. Katsuki Bakugo walked past him, hands shoved deep into his pockets, his posture radiating a mix of arrogance and lethal focus. "Keikaken!" Izuku squeaked. "Good morning. Let's do our best." Bakugo didn't stop. He didn't explode. He just glanced back over his shoulder, his red eyes narrowing. He looked at Izuku, then his gaze dipped momentarily to Izuku's chest pocket where a faint, rhythmic snoring was barely audible. "Don't trip on your own shoelaces," Bakugo grunted, turning back to the path. "And keep that pet on a leash." Izuku blinked. That was surprisingly mild. Ever since the sludge incident, and the confrontation behind the gym, Bakugo had been quieter. Not nicer, just quieter. Like he was waiting for something. "Right." Izuku breathed. He took another step, filled with renewed determination. He lifted his foot, planted it, and immediately caught his toe on a slightly raised brick in the pathway. "Graceful, Izuku. You're going to face-plant at the gates of your dream school." Gravity took hold. The pavement rushed up to meet his face. He flailed his arms, squeezing his eyes shut, bracing for the impact and the inevitable humiliation. Squeak! A tiny sound came from his pocket. The impact never came. Izuku opened one eye. He was hovering. His nose was 3 inches from the concrete. His body was parallel to the ground, suspended as if he were lying on an invisible table. "Are you okay?" A voice, bright and bubbly. Izuku scrambled, or tried to scramble, in midair, flailing his limbs like a turtle on its back. He looked up. A girl with a round face, rosy cheeks, and brown bobbed hair was standing over him. She had her hand extended, though she wasn't touching him. Whoa! Izuku gasped. In his pocket, Tico realized someone was watching. The Luma abruptly cut the anti-gravity field. Thump! Izuku dropped the remaining 3 inches, hitting the ground with a soft thud. "Ow," he muttered, scrambling to his feet and dusting off his knees. The girl blinked, tilting her head. "Oh. I thought I grabbed you with my quirk, but I didn't even touch you yet. That's amazing. Do you have a floating quirk too?" Izuku froze. Danger! Danger! Secret identity crisis in the first 30 seconds. Well, it's kind of... Izuku stammered, his face turning the color of a ripe tomato. "It's telekinetic, involuntary, reflex thing." "Oh, like a psychic reflex?" The girl beamed. "That's cool. I'm Uraraka Ochako. It's nerve-wracking, isn't it?" She gestured to the massive building. "I'm so nervous I think I might throw up. But let's do our best, right?" Why, yeah," Izuku managed to say. "I'm Midoriya." "Izuku. Nice to meet you, Deku." She pointed at Bakugo, who was disappearing into the building. "That guy called you Deku, right?" Well, that's actually an insult. It means useless." "Really?" Uraraka tapped her chin. "But it sounds like Dikairu, Like you can do it. I kinda like it. She flashed him a dazzling smile and waved. See you inside, Deku. She walked away, leaving Izuku standing there, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. She talked to me. A girl talked to me. And she was nice. Pio Tico whispered from the pocket, sounding smug. Izuku patted the pocket. Thanks for the save, buddy. But we have to be careful. No floating unless it's an emergency. Izuku took a deep breath. Deku. You can do it. He straightened his back. Okay. Let's go. The written exam was a blur of graphite and anxiety, but the orientation was where reality set in. The auditorium was cavernous. Thousands of students sat in rows, listening to the loud, energetic screaming of the voice hero, Present Mike. Everybody say hey. Mike bellowed. Silence. Tough crowd. Mike shrugged. Izuku sat next to Bakugo. Fate was cruel, trembling with excitement. It's the voice hero, Present Mike. I listen to his radio show every week. His pitch and volume control are legendary. Shut up, Bakugo hissed. In the practical exam, you listeners will be conducting 10-minute mock urban battles. Mike explained, the screen behind him lighting up with 8-bit graphics. You can bring whatever you want. After this presentation, you'll head to your specified battle center. Izuku looked at his exam ticket. Battle Center B. I guess they split up students from the same schools so we can't team up. He glanced at Bakugo's card. Battle Center A. Thank the stars, Izuku thought. I don't have to worry about Kaken blowing me up while I try to figure out my powers. Mike went on to explain the 3 types of villain bots, worth 1, 2, and 3 points respectively. Excuse me. May I ask a question? A hand shot up in the middle of the auditorium. A tall boy with glasses and intense posture stood up. Spotlight hit him immediately. There appear to be no fewer than 4 varieties of faux villains on this handout. The boy shouted, pointing accusingly at the screen. Such a blatant error on the finest school in Japan is shameful. We represent the exemplary students of this nation. He then whipped around, pointing a stiff finger directly at Izuku. And you! With the curly hair, Izuku pointed at himself. And me? You've been muttering this whole time. It's distracting. If you're here on a sightseeing trip, then you should leave immediately. The entire auditorium turned to look at Izuku. He shrank into his seat, wishing he had Tiko's ability to create a black hole and vanish. As sorry, he whispered. Okay, Examiner 7111. Mike waved his hands. Thanks for the great segue. The 4th type of villain is the zero-pointer. It's an obstacle, like a thwomp in a Mario game. It's huge, it's mean, and it's worth 0 points. My advice? Run away, Izuku repeated mentally. Not fight. Run. That's all from me. Remember the school motto. Plus ultra. Break a leg, everybody. Battle Center B. The mock city was enormous. It looked like a legitimate metropolitan district had been airlifted into the middle of the campus. Skyscrapers, streets, streetlights, everything was detailed. Izuku stood at the heavy iron gates, wearing his green tracksuit. He checked his utility belt. It was simple, some medical tape, a small flashlight, and a reinforced pouch on his hip filled with Campito. Tiko was currently hiding in the hood of the tracksuit, peering out through the gap between the fabric and Izuku's neck. Izuku looked around. The other examinees looked terrifying. There was a guy with engines in his legs. A guy with 6 arms. A girl with earphone jacks hanging from her ears. They all looked confident. They all had quirks they had been practicing with for a decade. Izuku had possessed one for all for exactly 4 hours. He looked at his hands. I haven't even thrown a punch with it yet. All Might said I need to clench my butt cheeks and yell smash. But what if I blow my arm off? What if Tiko can't absorb it all? He spotted the nice girl, Uraraka, standing near the back, looking nervous and taking deep breaths. She looked scared too, Izuku thought. Maybe I should wish her luck. It might help calm us both down. He stepped toward her. Stop right there. A heavy hand clamped onto Izuku's shoulder. He turned to see the tall boy with glasses. Ida, where do you think you're going? Ida asked sternly. That girl is trying to focus. Are you planning to distract her again? Are you taking this seriously? No. I just... Izuku stammered. And start. Present mixed voice boomed from the top of a tower. What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights. Run. Run. Die. I mean, go. The other students didn't hesitate. They exploded into motion, a stampede of dust and superpowers rushing into the city. Izuku was left standing at the gate with Ida, who gave him one last disapproving look before sprinting away with engine-boosted speed. I'm behind. I'm already behind. Izuku panicked. Pew! Tiko nudged his neck. Go, right. Izuku took off. He channeled one for all. Not 100%. He tried to remember the sensation of the microwave. The egg not exploding. Full cowl, or at least a flicker of it. Green lightning arced faintly around his legs. Tiko glowed in the hood, sinking with the energy. Izuku felt lighter. He pushed off the ground and rocketed forward, faster than he expected, nearly crashing into a lamppost. Okay, control. Control, he muttered, turning a corner. The sounds of destruction were everywhere. Explosions, crashing metal, shouting. He turned onto a main street and froze. A one-pointer, a speedy, wheel-based robot, was zooming toward him. Target acquired. Eliminate. Here it comes! Izuku yelled. He planted his feet. He pulled back his fist. Smash it. Just like the trash on the beach, he channeled power. The red veins of One for All flared on his arm. Too much. That's too much. His arm felt like it was swelling, the pressure building to a breaking point. Ting-a-ling! Tiko shot out of the hood. The Luma didn't attack. Instead, he spun rapidly around Izuku's extended arm, creating a halo of blue light. The pressure inside Izuku's arm vented. The searing heat of 100% output was sucked out, funneled into Tiko, and redistributed as kinetic energy. Izuku swung. Smash! His fist didn't even touch the robot. The shockwave, amplified by Tiko's spin, hit the machine like a wrecking ball. The air distorted. Crunch. The one-pointer crumpled inward, folded in half like a soda can, and was blasted backward 30 feet, skidding across the asphalt in a shower of sparks. Izuku stood there, fist extended, steam rising from his skin. His arm didn't hurt. It throbbed, yes. It felt like he had just lifted a heavy weight. But the bones were intact. The skin wasn't purple. I did it, Izuku breathed, staring at his hand. I used One for All. Pew! Tiko cheered, doing a backflip in the air before diving back into the hood. That was amazing, Tiko. You took the recoil. 6 minutes left. Mick's voice echoed over the city speakers. 6 minutes? Izuku's celebration died instantly. I only have 1 point. That was a one-pointer. I need more. He ran deeper into the city, but the city was picked clean. Everywhere he looked, broken robots lay smoking. The guy with the laser navel was blasting 3 at a time. The guy with the tail was crushing 2-pointers. Damn it! Izuku sprinted down an alleyway. Where are they? He turned a corner and found a 3-pointer. A massive, tank-treaded behemoth. Target found. Izuku wound up. Zoom. A blur of blue engines shot past him. Ida. Recipro burst. Ida kicked the robot's head clean off before Izuku could even step forward. Too slow. Ida shouted without stopping. No! Izuku groaned. He kept running. He found another group. A girl with acid destroyed them. He found a 2-pointer. The boy with the bird shadow destroyed it. 2 minutes remaining. Izuku was panting. Not from exhaustion, but from sheer panic. 1 point. I have 1 point. I'm going to fail. All Might gave me his hair, gave me his dream, and I'm going to fail with 1 point. Tiko sensed the rising panic. He vibrated anxiously. He popped out and offered Izuku a conpito from the pouch. Not now, Tiko. Izuku snapped, then immediately felt guilty. Sorry. I need to find a villain. And then, the ground jumped. It wasn't a vibration. It was an earthquake. Boom, boom, boom. Buildings shook. Glass shattered and rained down from the skyscrapers. The other students stopped fighting, looking toward the main avenue with wide eyes. Rising above the skyline, blotting out the sun, was a nightmare of engineering. The zero-pointer. It was colossal. Its treads crushed cars like bugs. Its chassis was the size of a stadium. Its red electronic eyes swept the street like searchlights from hell. What is that? Someone screamed. It's huge. Run! It's the zero-pointer. There's no point in fighting it. The psychology of the mob took over. The examinees turned and fled. It was a stampede of fear. Izuku stood frozen. The sheer scale of the thing triggered a primal fear response. His legs felt like lead. Run. Just run. You have 1 point. Maybe 1 point is enough? No, it's not. But if I stay, I die. He turned to run. Ow wow! A cry of pain. Faint buried under the sound of crushing concrete. Izuku stopped. He looked back toward the monster. Through the dust cloud, he saw her. Uraraka. She was on the ground, struggling. A massive piece of debris from a smashed building had pinned her leg. She was trying to lift it, but it was too heavy. The zero-pointer was looming over her. Its massive metal hand was reaching down, not to grab, but to crush the street where she lay. The other students were running away. They didn't see her. Or if they did, they were too scared to stop. She talked to me. She was nice. Izuku's mind went blank. The calculation stopped. The fear vanished, replaced by a singular, blinding imperative. Save her. He turned and sprinted toward the robot. Midoriya? Ida, who was fleeing, stopped and looked back. What are you doing? Are you suicidal? Izuku didn't hear him. He was running against the flow of the crowd, running toward death. It's too far, his tactical mind whispered. I can't reach her in time. And even if I do, I can't lift that robot. It's too big. He needed height. He needed speed. He needed to be a cannonball. Tico! Izuku screamed, reaching into his pouch. He grabbed a handful of Compito, 5, 6, 7 stars. Eat up! He threw them into the air. Tico burst out of the hood. He devoured the sugar mid-flight. PWWAA! The Luma expanded. He didn't just glow, he ignited. He turned a brilliant, fiery orange. Rosalina's voice echoed in Izuku's mind. Launch star. Tico spun, creating a gravitational singularity in front of Izuku. A wire-frame construct of light, shaped like a massive star, materialized in the air. Lock on! Izuku yelled. He jumped into Tico. For a split second, weightlessness. Then Tico spun. Wing! It was like being shot out of a railgun. Izuku was launched into the air. Not a jump. A flight. He tore through the sky, a streak of green and orange light, soaring straight toward the face of the zero-pointer. The wind roared in his ears. The G-force pressed his eyes shut, but he forced them open. He was level with the robot's face. The massive red eyes stared at him. One for all. Izuku gritted his teeth. He clenched his right fist. He felt the power flood his arm. 100%. No holding back. Plus. Star power! Tico, having launched Izuku, zipped through the air and wrapped himself around Izuku's wrist like a gauntlet of cosmic energy. The power of the stockpiling quirk met the infinite density of the Luma. The air around Izuku's fist cracked. Black lightning danced with blue stardust. The robot began to swing its arm. Detroit. Izuku twisted his body, adding centrifugal force to the punch. Comet Smaz. Impact. It wasn't a thud. It was a thunderclap that shattered windows for 3 blocks. Izuku's fist connected with the central faceplate of the zero-pointer. The metal didn't just dent. It buckled. It liquefied under the pressure of the gravity well Izuku had created. The shockwave traveled through the robot's neck, down its spine, and blew out the back of its head in a cone of destruction. The massive machine groaned, a sound of tearing steel that sounded like a dying wail. Then, it began to tilt backward. Explosions rippled across its chassis. Izuku hung in the air for a moment, suspended in the glory of the strike. Then, gravity remembered him. He began to fall. Whoa! I did it. He looked at his arm. It was purple. Broken. Flailing uselessly in the wind. Right. Tico absorbed the launch, but the impact. 100% is still too much for my bones. Pain flooded his system. He screamed silently. He was falling from 20 stories up. I'm going to die. I saved her, but I'm going to splatter on the pavement. He tried to summon Tico. Tico, help. Tico floated out of the broken sleeve. The Luma was pale, almost white. He was exhausted. The launch star and the smash had drained him. Pio. Tico squeaked weakly. It's okay, Izuku whispered, tears flying from his eyes as the ground rushed up. You did good. He tried to slap the air with his left hand, trying to create pressure, anything. The ground was 50 feet away. 40, 30. Release. Slap. A hand didn't touch him, but a wave of nausea did. Just as Izuku braced for death, he stopped. Jerkingly, he hovered 3 feet off the ground. Uraraka lay there, one hand extended, her face pale green. She had slapped her own cheek to release her quirk on herself to float the debris, and then slapped the air toward him. Wait, no? She was too far away. Izuku looked down. Beneath him, barely glowing, Tico had expanded into a wide, flat pancake shape, a safety cushion. Combined with a faint pink aura around Izuku, Uraraka's gravity removal, he settled gently onto the Luma's soft back. Poof! Izuku rolled off onto the concrete. Tico shrank back to his small size and passed out immediately. Safe, Izuku wheezed. Then he looked at his arm. Ah! The adrenaline wore off. The pain was blinding. The dust cleared. The other students were slowly coming out of hiding. They stared at the fallen giant. They stared at the boy lying broken on the asphalt. Did he just one-shot the 0-pointer? He jumped like he flew. Whatever quirk that is, it's a monster. Ida stood in the crowd, his glasses askew. He looked at Izuku, then at the girl Izuku had saved. He clenched his fists. I ran away. I analyzed the situation and ran. But he didn't hesitate. He had 0 points, and he threw away his chance to pass to save someone. That, Ida whispered, is a hero. Okay. Show's over. An old woman in a lab coat hobbled through the crowd. Recovery girl. My goodness, she tooted, looking at Izuku's arm. You really overdid it, didn't you, Sonny? And what is this? She poked the unconscious Tico with her cane. Is this your quirk? Izuku gritted his teeth, fighting the darkness closing in on his vision. He's my partner. Well, he looks as tired as you, Recovery Girl said. She puckered her lips. Smooch. She kissed Izuku's forehead. Vitality surged through him. The pain in his arm dulled as the bones began to knit together rapidly. Sleep now, she commanded. Izuku's eyes fluttered. I have 1 point, was his last thought. I failed. But as he drifted off, he felt a small, warm weight snuggle into his side. And he heard the faint, ghostly applause of a woman from the stars. 1 week later, the Midoriya apartment was silent. Izuku sat at the dining table, staring at a fish for dinner. He hadn't touched it. Tico was floating listlessly around the room, picking at a bowl of compito but not really eating. Izuku, Inko said gently. Do you want some rice? No thanks, Mom, Izuku murmured. He had failed. It was simple math. He had 1 combat point. The cutoff for UA was usually in the 40s or 50s, he had told All Might. All Might had been quiet. He just said, wait for the letter. The letter. I'm here, Inko shrieked as she dropped the mail on the table. There it was. The envelope with the UA seal. Izuku grabbed it. He marched to his room. Tico followed. He sat at his desk. He tore it open. A hologram disc fell out. BZZZT. All Might projected onto the wall. He was wearing a bright yellow suit that looked ridiculous. I am here. As a projection, All Might? Izuku gasped. Wait, this is from UA? I had to do a lot of paperwork, but I am now a teacher at UA. All Might boomed. You've been waiting a long time, young Midoriya. You're probably thinking, I only got 1 point. I failed. Izuku nodded miserably. Tico let out a sad pew. But... All Might pointed at the camera. Did you think a hero course would reject someone who saves others? The video cut away. It showed Uraraka standing in the teacher's lounge. Excuse me. That boy with the messy hair and the star thingy. Uraraka was pleading. He saved me. Can I give him my points? He's gonna have 0 because he stopped to help me. Please, Izuku's eyes widened. Uraraka. The video cut back to All Might. You have a quirk that compels you to save others. A hero's greatest attribute. And the judges saw that. A scoreboard appeared. Villain points 1, rescue points 60, rescue points. All Might shouted. A hidden metric. By risking your life to save another against an impossible enemy, you demonstrated the essence of a hero. 60 points. That puts you in the top tier. The total score flashed, 61 points. All Might extended his hand toward the screen. Come, young Midoriya. This is your hero academia. Izuku trembled. Tears, thick anime-style streams, burst from his eyes. Tiko cheered, spinning around the room so fast he became a yellow blur. I got in, Izuku sobbed. He grabbed Tiko and hugged him tight. We got in, Tiko. We're going to UA. Pew pew. The boy and the star cried together, illuminated by the hologram of the symbol of peace. The path was open. The gravity of his situation had shifted. He was no longer falling. He was rising. The uniform of UA High School was a slate-gray masterpiece of ballistic nylon and prestige. To the average citizen, it was just a school outfit. To Izuku Midoriya, it was a suit of armor. He stood in front of the full-length mirror in his bedroom, adjusting the red tie for the 10th time. The fabric felt stiff, unfamiliar, yet incredibly right. It fits, he whispered, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I'm really going. On the bed, Tiko was bouncing excitedly on the mattress, creating small ripples in the sheets with every landing. The Luma had been awake since dawn, sensing Izuku's nervous energy and converting it into kinetic enthusiasm. Pew! Pew! Tiko chirped, doing a mid-air somersault. I know, I'm excited too, Izuku said, turning to face his star companion. But remember the plan? UA is strict. We don't know the rules about extraterrestrial partners yet. You have to stay low. Tiko stopped bouncing and inflated his cheeks, looking indignant. It's just until I can explain it to the homeroom teacher. Izuku pleaded, holding open the breast pocket of his blazer. Please? Tiko let out a resigned sigh, a sound like air escaping a very small balloon, and floated over. He compressed his rubbery body, shrinking slightly, and dove into the pocket. A moment later, two black, beady eyes peeked over the rim of the fabric. Perfect, Izuku said, patting the pocket gently. We're a team. Just a stealth team today. He grabbed his yellow backpack, took a deep breath, and opened the door. The smell of breakfast and his mother's anxiety wafted from the kitchen. Izuku! Inko Midoriya rushed over, a tissue already in hand. You look so handsome. My baby is going to the top hero school. Do you have your handkerchief? Your tissues? Tiko's sugar stars? I have everything, Ma. Izuku laughed, letting her fuss over his collar. Be careful, she whispered, her eyes wet. I know you're strong now. I saw the beach. But just come home safe. I will, Izuku promised. I'll be the coolest hero ever. Just watch. He stepped out of the apartment and into the morning sun. The world seemed brighter today. The gravity that usually held him down, the weight of being quirkless, of being Deku, was gone. In its place was a different kind of gravity, a pull toward a destiny he was just beginning to understand. Class 1A. The door was enormous. It was easily 12 feet tall, a testament to the diverse sizes of quirks in the hero world. Izuku stood before it, his hand hovering over the handle. This is it. The elite. The best of the best. Don't be nervous, he muttered. Just open the door. It's not like Kaken is going to be. Take your feet off the desk. Ha! Who are you to tell me what to do, Four Eyes? Izuku froze. The voices drifted through the wood. Of course. He slid the door open slowly. Inside, the classroom was bathed in sunlight. At the center of the drama was Tenya Ida, the glasses-wearing engine boy from the entrance exam, stiffly gesturing at Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo, naturally, had his feet propped up on his desk, looking like he owned the building. It's disrespectful to the upperclassmen who use these desks. Ida scolded, chopping the air with his hand. Disrespectful? Bakugo sneered. What junior high did you go to, you stick-up-the-ass elite? I am from semi-private academy. My name is Ida Tenya. Semi? So you're a damn elite. Bakugo grinned, sparks popping in his palms. I'll have fun crushing you. Crushing me? Are you really aiming to be a hero? Ida looked appalled. Izuku tried to make himself small, hoping to slip to a seat unnoticed. Ah. It's you! Ida's head snapped toward the door. The engine boy marched over, his movements robotic and intense. I am Ida Tenya. I heard. Izuku stammered. I'm Midoriya. Izuku. Ida stared down at him. Midoriya. You realized the true nature of the practical exam, didn't you? While I was focused on the surface level, you perceived the rescue points. I judged you prematurely. You were the superior candidate. Not really, I just... Izuku waved his hands frantically. Oh. It's Deku. Uraraka Ochako popped up behind Izuku, her face beaming. You made it. I asked Present Mike if you got in, and he said you passed with flying colors. That punch was amazing. Like POW, she threw a mock punch. Tiko, sensing the movement, wiggled in Izuku's pocket. Izuku clamped a hand over his chest. Why yeah. It was something. Izuku blushed. Being surrounded by people who acknowledged him, it was overwhelming. If you're just here to make friends, pack up and leave. The voice was dry, tired, and came from the floor. The three students froze. Slowly, they looked down. Lying in the hallway, wrapped in a bright yellow sleeping bag like a metamorphic caterpillar, was a man. He had messy black hair, bloodshot eyes, and a stubble that spoke of days without sleep. He sucked on a pouch of jelly drink. This is the hero course, the man mumbled, unzipping the sleeping bag and standing up. He wore all black, with a captured weapon scarf wrapped around his neck. It took you 8 seconds to quiet down. Time is limited. You kids aren't rational enough. He stepped into the room, the class falling into a terrified silence. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. Nice to meet you. Homeroom teacher? The class thought in unison. He looks like a homeless person. Aizawa reached into his sleeping bag and pulled out a stack of blue gym uniforms. Put these on and head to the grounds, he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. We're doing a quirk apprehension test. The P grounds were vast, an expanse of dirt tracks and testing equipment under the open sky. The air smelled of ozone and fresh earth. Class 1A stood in a cluster, wearing their blue tracksuits. Izuku felt exposed. The gym uniform was tight, showing off the muscle he had built, but it also had no pockets deep enough to hide Tiko securely. He had compromised. Tiko was currently clinging to Izuku's back, underneath the shirt, flattening himself like a heated patch. It looked like Izuku had a slight hunchback, or perhaps a very weird spinal curvature. A quirk apprehension test? The class exclaimed. What about the entrance ceremony? The guidance counselor meeting? Uraraka asked. Aizawa turned, his hair falling over his eyes. If you want to be a hero, you don't have time for such leisurely events. UA's selling point is freedom of style. That applies to the teachers as well. He scanned the group, his eyes lingering for a fraction of a second on Izuku. Softball throw. Standing long jump. 50-meter dash. Endurance running. Grip strength. Upper body training. Seated toe touch. Sit-ups. You did these in middle school without quirks. The country still insists on prohibiting quirks for fitness tests. It's irrational. Aizawa pointed at Bakugo. Bakugo. You finished first in the entrance exam. What was your softball throw record in middle school? 67 meters, Bakugo grunted. Try it with your quirk, Aizawa said, tossing him a ball. Do whatever you want as long as you stay in the circle. Bakugo walked to the circle. He stretched his arms, a predatory grin spreading across his face. I'll show them, Bakugo thought. I'll show Deku and his little pet just how far behind they are. Dai! He threw the ball. As it left his fingertips, he detonated a massive explosion. Boom! The blast propelled the ball like a cannon shot. It soared through the air, leaving a trail of smoke. Aizawa held up a device. Beep! 705.2 meters. The class erupted. 700 meters? Are you kidding? Kaminari gasped. This looks like fun. Ashido cheered. We can use our quirks as much as we want. Aizawa's expression darkened. The air temperature seemed to drop. Fun, huh? He lowered the device. You have 3 years to become heroes. Will you have an attitude like that the whole time? Deeply irrational, he smiled. It was a smile that promised pain. All right. Whoever comes in last place in all 8 tests will be judged to have no potential, and will be punished with expulsion. The silence was deafening. Expulsion? Uraraka cried. It's the first day. That's too unreasonable. Natural disasters. Big accidents. Selfish villains, Aizawa listed, brushing his hair back. Calamities that happen when you least expect them. Japan is covered in unfairness. Heroes are the ones who overturn those situations. If you wanted to hang out at Mickey D's after school, too bad. For the next 3 years, Yui will run you through the ringer. Plus ultra. He curled his finger. Bring it on. Izuku swallowed hard. Tiko shivered against his back. Last place gets expelled. I can't control one for all yet. If I use 100%, I break my bones. If I break my bones, I can't do the other tests. I'll be last. He felt Tiko's warmth. But I'm not alone. I have to use Tiko. We have to be smart. Test 1, 50-meter dash. Ida was up first. He was a blur of engine exhaust. 3.04 seconds. Like a fish in water, the frog girl, Ajui, commented. When it was Izuku's turn, he lined up against Bakugo. Don't cry when you lose, Deku, Bakugo muttered. Ready. Go! Bakugo blasted off, using explosions to propel himself backward. Izuku didn't run normally. As he pushed off the block, he whispered Tiko. Low gravity. Under his shirt, Tiko glowed. Izuku's weight dropped effectively to that of a feather. His leg strength, honed on the beach, propelled him forward with incredible force. He didn't run, he glided, his strides long and bounding, like an astronaut on the moon. He crossed the line. 5.51 seconds, the machine beeped. Bakugo clocked 4.13. TCH, Bakugo spat. Still slow, but Izuku clenched his fist. Faster than middle school. Much faster. Test 2, grip strength. Izuku held the dynamometer. He focused. He didn't use one for all. It was too risky for a delicate machine. Instead, he felt Tiko's shift on his back. A small, invisible tendril of gravitational force wrapped around the device, assisting his squeeze. Beep. 160 kilograms. Whoa! Ciro looked over. That's strong, Midoriya. Next to him, a large boy with multiple arms, Shoji, scored 540 kilograms. Izuku felt humble again immediately. Test 3, standing long jump. This was Tiko's specialty. Izuku stood at the line. As he jumped, Tiko pulsed. Launch star, micro. Izuku didn't just jump, he cleared the sandbox entirely. He sailed through the air, flailing his arms slightly, and landed softly on the grass on the other side. Cleared the sandbox, the machine announced. Bakugo watched, his eyes twitching. He's flying. That damn yellow blob is making him fly. Test 4, repeated sidesteps. Mineta, the small boy with great balls on his head, was the king here. Izuku did well, using Tiko to stabilize his center of gravity, allowing him to change direction instantly without losing momentum. As the tests went on, Izuku wasn't dominating, but he wasn't failing. He was consistently in the upper middle. But then came the main event. Test 5, ball throw. Uraraka went up. She touched the ball, threw it, and it just kept going. And going. Infinity, Aizawa announced. The class lost their minds. Infinity? That's cheating. Now, it was Izuku's turn. He walked to the circle. His heart was hammering against his ribs. This is it. I need a big score here to ensure I'm safe. 700 meters. I need to beat Kaken. He looked at the ball. I can't just rely on Tiko's gravity manipulation. To get that kind of distance, I need force. I need one for all. He remembered the entrance exam. The pain. If I use 100%, I'll break my arm. But Tiko can absorb it. Just like the smash. He glanced at Aizawa. The teacher was watching him with tired, predatory eyes. He's watching. He knows I broke my arm last time. He expects me to fail. Izuku took a deep breath. Tiko, he whispered. Ready? Pew, came the muffled reply from under his shirt. Tiko shifted, sliding from his back to his chest, pressing right against Izuku's heart. Izuku wound up. He channeled one for all into his right arm. The red veins glowed. The power surged, a torrent of energy screaming to be released. Smash! He whipped his arm forward, and then, emptiness. The power vanished. The red veins disappeared. The strength evaporated instantly. The ball left his hand with the pathetic velocity of a normal junior high student. It flew. 46 meters. Izuku stood frozen, his arm extended. What? Where did it go? Tiko? He felt Tiko panic against his chest. The Luma hadn't absorbed anything because there was nothing to absorb. The energy had simply been cut off at the source. I erased your quirk. Izuku spun around. Aizawa stood there. His hair was floating, defying gravity. His eyes were glowing a piercing red. The scarf around his neck seemed to writhe like a living thing. That entrance exam, Aizawa said, his voice cold. It wasn't rational. Someone like you, who can't control their quirk, will only incapacitate themselves. And then who will save you? He stepped closer, looming over Izuku. Do you plan to rely on others to save you every time you break your bones? Do you plan to rely on that creature hiding in your shirt? Izuku gasped. He knows. I saw the footage, Aizawa continued. The creature acts as a buffer. A crutch. Without it, you destroy yourself. And right now, I've cut the connection between you and your power. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. From what I can see, you don't have control. You have a shotgun that you hand to a toddler. The glowing red eyes bore into Izuku's soul. You cannot be a hero. The words struck Izuku like physical blows. It was the rooftop all over again. Give up. But then, ping, a soft sound. Aizawa blinked. His eyes were dry. He couldn't hold the erasure forever. His hair dropped. I've returned your quirk, Aizawa muttered, turning away. You have 2 throws left. Hurry up and get it over with. Izuku stood there, trembling. He's right. I haven't mastered it. I'm relying on Tiko. I'm relying on All Might's gift. He looked at his hand. But I can't give up. I'm here. Suddenly, Tiko poked his head out of the collar of the gym shirt. The Luma looked angry. He had felt Aizawa's power, a cold, stifling void that tried to snuff out the light. Pew! Tiko headbutted Izuku's chin. Izuku looked down. Tiko's eyes were fierce. You are a vessel, Rosalina had said. 2 suns orbiting each other. Izuku realized something. Aizawa had erased one for all. But he hadn't erased Tiko. He couldn't erase Tiko. Tiko wasn't a quirk. Tiko was a friend. You're right, Izuku whispered to the star. He's wrong. It's not a crutch. It's a partnership. Aizawa was watching him. He'll try to throw it again. He'll break his arm. And then I'll expel him to save him from himself. Izuku stepped back into the circle. He didn't wind up for a smash this time. He held the ball in his fingertips. Tiko, Izuku murmured. Don't absorb the impact. Spin, one for all hummed to life. But Izuku didn't let it flood his whole arm. He focused it. Just the tip of his index finger. Just 5%. And Tiko moved. The Luma zipped out of the shirt, no longer hiding. He swirled around Izuku's arm, creating a visible vortex of blue stardust. Aizawa's eyes widened. The creature, it's independent. I'm not, useless. Izuku shouted. He threw. At the exact moment the ball left his hand, he snapped his finger with Ofei, imparting a massive burst of kinetic energy. Simultaneously, Tiko slammed into the ball with a star spin, adding a gravitational slingshot effect. The air cracked. Vree!